Okay, now that we have used the color range to make a selection, we should have that already saved, and if you haven't done that task, go back to the previous tutorial video and complete that task. So this second color range selection, that's what I'm after right now. So I've gone into the channels, and I do want to select the color range channel all by itself. Now, working with channels here, we can use the visibility, and here's how it works. If we were to turn off the visibility, now I'm trying to do that here in the RGB, but I do have to have at least one channel selected. So if I were to click on, say, to turn the visibility for this color range selection, you can see way over here my picture. I do have it. It looks like the quick mask mode actually. Okay, so I have all the channels selected. Plus, I'm showing the visibility of the selection that I've saved. Alright, but so if I click off the visibility of this RGB, then you can see that I don't have the picture. Now I am just showing the selection in and of itself. Now to move amongst the different ones, another way to do that would be in the middle of your channel. Each one of those you could click on instead of the visibility. Or to click on the RGB, now that turns off anything else. If I click on, say, the red channel, then it deselects everything else, and I'm looking at just the red channel, green channel, blue channel, now color range, my selection that I created. Okay, so that's how that works. How do we turn them on and off? And then RGB just turns all the RGB to be on. Alright, I want to go and deselect the selection because I want to open it up to all of this color range selection. And even if I have the color range selection chosen, you see here my selection is basically even the gray areas and whatnot, because if I were to put this in quick mask mode, okay, I am seeing some even where the gray areas, that is actually part of the selection, these dancing ants, even partially selected areas. So if I were to, say, try to erase this, that would not happen with the dancing ants, my marquee selection there. So deselect, that is either Command or Control D, or using a marquee and click in elsewhere, or you want to go to the select drop down menu and choose deselect. So that will get rid of the active selection. Now what we want to do here is to refine our selection and make it so that I don't have things like this where it's chopped off, and I don't have any of this gray area here that it's pretty much completely white, except for something like this. Let me zoom into this top area here. One of the edges of the flower, you can see it's very blurry at the edge, and that's due to the fact that if we go back to the picture, that is kind of merging with the background, and again slightly out of focus. So we actually do want that, because as you remember from our previous tutorial using paths, that a hard edge selection can look fake, and we really don't want to have a fake looking change of color. Okay, so this is one of those techniques where we need to make a selection that's very specific, and again we work very hard at our selections. So to refine it, what we need to do is to go to the control panel here, okay, and actually the brush here and our options panel, not the control panel, but our options panel right here at the top, and control our brush from there, okay, whatever size we want. But there's going to be a change in mode. Now this is different than what you're used to. The mode means that we're kind of going to be mixing or blending using our black or white, depending on what our color foreground and background color is. And it's going to be blending it as we go along, how it's going to paint in or erase. Okay, and what I need actually is something very specific. So I want to go and choose the overlay mode. Now what this does is make sure that whichever one I am painting with, either the white, and so I would be painting into the white, that it will affect white only. And if I paint those out, in fact, if I were to, let's go and push the opacity up to 100% here. So if I'm coming in here, I've got a little bit of a gray area right here. Sometimes you can't see all of the gray areas particularly. You might even want to take your monitor and look at it kind of almost sideways. If you can't see it still, then this may look white, but if I go to the info panel and open that up, and if you don't see the info panel, go under window and choose info. What this does is it shows me, well, we're looking at black and white, so this black right here, which is represented actually by the letter K, okay, or here I can see that the letter K. If we see black or the CMYK here, it's going to show me kind of a percentage as we go along. So if I were to hover over this other area here, you can see that the black, keep your eyes on the info panel, the black, there's something there that looks like it's disappeared, but there's actually a percentage there that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to click and paint that out. Okay, now it's down to 0. So some of those pixels that are really just really low in value, then the info panel will pick it up, or like I said, we can look at our monitor. Sometimes that does the trick. So I'm going to zoom in here, and painting with white and in overlay mode, then I'm going to be able to paint out some of this gray area. Now why did I choose the overlay mode in particular? Well, if I were to paint by accident into the black area, it's really not going to affect it. It takes whatever color that we have, and overlay really intensifies whatever color we're utilizing. Now you got to be careful on these edges. We don't want to obliterate our detail in some of the blurriness here, which I actually recommend hanging on to. If we go up to the edge, that's great. But I want to show you what happens if I overdo it. So if I am clicking and dragging across, yeah, it's going to turn that white, and then I'm going to get a really hard edge. Okay, so I've gone over it a bunch of times. I don't like that hard edge. So go step backwards, Command Z, or Control Z. And then to step backward even more, here's another trick. If you use Command Option for a Mac or Control Alt, both of those push down and hit the Z key, then I can do multiple undos. So Photoshop's a little bit particular to how many undos that you can do. It goes back and forth. So I might go up to the edge just a little bit and be a little more subtle on how I am working with this. So in general, what we're doing is getting rid of the gray area. So you're going to go all over. And one of the things, of course, that I recommend is to start at a particular starting point and move in a clockwise direction all the way around the edges with one tool, which are one color, which would be the white. And then going back, and you can see here, I've got some areas here that where the black is. Go all the way around and use the black. Okay, I'm going to switch that right here. The foreground as the black color. So if you click on the little arrows here by your color swatches, then that's going to bring it the black to the foreground. And I'm going to use still in color, the overlay mode with the brush. Then I can take some of this information out. Now, if I want to make sure that of what it is that I'm referencing here, a lot of times I will turn the RGB visibility back on and off, or click back and forth between the two. Now this has a lot of the color that we started with here. And so I might go back and make sure that I hang on to a little bit of that spillover because of the reflection there. Okay, so go all the way around and make your corrections as you need to. This, I need some white in here, and make sure that your crown is good to go. You don't want to have unblurry edges on some of these particular edges here. Okay, so repeat that technique for all the way around for the inside and the outside, and we'll see you in the next segment.